On September 13, 2025, a monstrous storm tore through Catalonia, Spain, transforming the serene northeastern region into a battleground of nature's fury. In the province of Barcelona, the town of Ripoll bore the brunt of the chaos. Streets morphed into raging torrents, sweeping cars away like toys. Ferocious hail battered rooftops and shattered cafe windows, blanketing neighborhoods in icy chaos. Residents, shaken to their core, described the heavens collapsing upon them, their trembling voices echoing across social media as videos captured vehicles tossed aside and sidewalks buried under a frozen deluge. In just under an hour, over 2 inches of rain overwhelmed ancient drainage systems, snapping power poles, toppling trees, and grinding public transit to a standstill. For thousands, it was a day of raw terror, a stark warning that in a warming world, once rare tempests now strike with relentless frequency. The storm descended on Catalonia with apocalyptic force, catching even seasoned locals off guard. Within minutes, towns like Ripoll and Terrassa became aquatic war zones, their streets transformed into churning rivers. Rainfall pummeled the region at rates exceeding 2 inches in less than half an hour, far beyond what crumbling drainage systems could endure. Social media erupted with haunting footage, cars drifting sideways through narrow alleys, storefronts drowning in muddy torrents and benches, trash bins, and cafe tables swept away by the merciless current. But the devastation wasn't limited to floods. Hailstones the size of golf balls rained down like artillery, smashing rooftops, terraces, and parked vehicles, leaving a trail of shattered glass and mangled metal. In some areas, the hail piled up like a freak snowstorm, melting into the floodwaters and amplifying the surge. Winds howling at over 60 miles per hour uprooted trees, blocked major roads, and left live wires sparking dangerously on the ground. Emergency services were swamped, with fire brigades fielding over 100 calls in mere hours, while civil protection teams raced to seal off treacherous roads and rescue drivers trapped in flooded tunnels. Hospitals treated a flood of injuries, cuts from flying debris, falls on slick surfaces, and wounds from shattered glass. To many, this was no mere summer squall but a full-scale natural cataclysm. The storm's wrath left a trail of social and economic devastation across Catalonia. In Ripoll and nearby towns, small businesses watched helplessly as floodwaters obliterated their storefronts in minutes. Shopkeepers waded through knee-deep muck, salvaging what little they could, but clothing, electronics, and livelihoods were washed away. For many, a single day's chaos meant weeks of financial ruin. Families in low-lying homes faced the worst. Floodwaters invaded living rooms, destroyed furniture, and shorted out electrical systems. Insurance companies were inundated with hundreds of claims within the first 24 hours, bracing for millions in damages to homes, vehicles, and businesses. Catalonia's transportation network buckled under the storm's assault. Buses were canceled, highways shut down, and train services stalled as crews battled debris and waterlogged tracks. In Montserrat National Park, landslides and rockfalls severed key mountain roads, stranding residents and tourists alike. Local officials admitted the region's mobility was paralyzed, dealing a brutal blow to tourism, a cornerstone of Catalonia's economy. Cafes and hotels shuttered, while global headlines of cars floating through historic streets sparked fears about safety and preparedness. For Catalonia's residents, this was no mere weather event. It was a gut-punch reminder of life's fragility when nature unleashes its full might. The storm laid bare glaring flaws in the region's aging infrastructure. In towns like Ripoll and Terrassa, narrow streets funneled floodwaters into deadly torrents, overwhelming drainage systems built for a bygone era. Manholes erupted, sewage backed up, and intersections became swirling vortexes. Engineers warned that the region's outdated drainage, designed for moderate rain, was no match for 2 to 3 inches of water in under an hour. Neglected maintenance worsened the toll. Trees, weakened by years of minimal pruning, crashed into homes, cars, and power lines. Saturated soil gave way, toppling roots and plunging thousands into darkness as hospitals leaned on emergency generators. Rapid urbanization only deepened the crisis. Green spaces that once soaked up rainfall had been paved over with concrete and asphalt, leaving floodwaters nowhere to go. Low-lying areas, long known as flood-prone, continued to see new housing and commercial projects, raising urgent questions about zoning and urban planning. For residents, this storm wasn't just a disaster, it was a deafening alarm. Without modernized infrastructure and stronger climate resilience, every heavy rain threatens to unleash another catastrophe. As the skies roared and streets became rivers, Catalonia's emergency services faced a trial by fire. The Catalan Fire Brigade logged over 70 interventions in hours, pumping out flooded basements and clearing uprooted trees from major roads. The region's 100 health emergency hotline was overwhelmed, fielding over 200 desperate calls from residents trapped in cars or homes. In Ripoll, firefighters formed human chains to guide families through waist-deep water. In Terrassa, swift water rescue teams deployed inflatable boats to save motorists stranded under overpasses. Helicopters buzzed over Montserrat National Park, where landslides isolated mountain villages and trapped hikers on remote trails. Hospitals shifted into crisis mode, treating broken bones from falling debris and hypothermia from icy floodwaters. Schools and community centers became makeshift shelters where evacuees huddled under blankets, awaiting news of their homes. Yet, amid the rapid response, residents voiced frustration over delayed warnings, some claiming they received no alerts before floodwaters invaded their neighborhoods. Authorities defended their efforts, citing the storm's unprecedented ferocity. Still, for many, the night underscored a harsh reality. When nature strikes this fast, even the best systems can falter. At the heart of the chaos were the stories of ordinary people whose lives were upended in moments. In Ripoll, a shopkeeper stood on his counter, watching floodwaters smash through his store and sweep away a decade's worth of merchandise. "My livelihood vanished in seconds," he said, voice breaking. On the narrow streets near Rambla a young mother clutched her child above the rising tide, her cries for help answered by neighbors who formed a human chain to pull her to safety. Social media overflowed with raw panic, videos of benches, dumpsters, and cars drifting like debris in a raging current. In Barcelona province, families described hailstones pounding windows like gunfire. A Terrassa teenager likened the sound to standing inside a drum while your house is beaten by ice. Drivers trapped under fallen trees or sparking power lines feared they wouldn't survive the night. These stories, more than any statistic, reveal the human toll, a fragile sense of security shattered by nature's sudden rage. The storm's scars ran deep, crippling Catalonia's economy and infrastructure. Businesses in downtown Ripoll and Terrassa faced millions in damages as floodwaters obliterated inventory and forced closures at the peak of weekend trade. For small shop owners, a single day's destruction erased months of recovery from past disasters. Transportation ground to a halt. 3 major roads in the Montserrat Mountains were blocked by landslides, stranding drivers and isolating villages. Train and metro services across Barcelona province stalled for hours, while buses in flood-prone areas simply stopped running. Highways, clogged with abandoned vehicles, created a ripple effect of disruption across the region. Scientists pointed to rapid urbanization and outdated drainage as key culprits. Narrow streets and inadequate sewer systems funneled floodwaters into homes and businesses, turning heavy rain into a humanitarian crisis. Climate change, they warned, is tilting the odds toward more frequent and violent storms. Each degree of warming boosts atmospheric water content by roughly 7%,